Hi, and welcome back to the Mob Mentality Show. I'm Chris Lucian, and my co-host is Austin Chadwick. And today we have Robin Vanden Bogaard, and we're going to talk a little bit about his experience mobbing and the doors that might have been opened from doing such, improving design, scouting, those sorts of things. But first, Robin, would you go ahead and give us an introduction?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm Robin van den Bogaard. I live in the Netherlands. I'm 40 years old, always passionate about software developing, and the past 6 months I've started mob programming, and that's why I'm here.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, let's get right into it. And maybe, if you can describe the lead up, how you got into it, what both challenges and successes you experienced, those sorts of things, and just tell us
All
the
right.
story.
Okay, thank you. When I joined this team in January, we were still doing Scrum, and from past experiences, I always prefer to pair program. And this team was working in silos. And immediately that I tried to pair as much as possible. I played a little dumb fun. Hey, can we pair? I don't get it. Can you help me with this? And that kind of rubbed off on the team. So that was a fun experience. And in February, a new teammate also joined the team that also really preferred to pair program. So that kind of got a thing in our team to pair program as much as possible. But we still had a lot of process issues that were just really clunky and time consuming. And during one of the retros, I asked the team for, okay, we've got this list with problems that we want to address. I know about a way how we can achieve all those problems to just disappear like magic. And I dropped the bomb of mob programming, and there was a light skepticism among the team members, but overall the reaction was very positive, unlike I experienced in the past when I opted for solutions like this. And because the reactions were so positive, I followed up in the next sprint in a one-on-one with every team member. So how serious are you about trying to go mob programming with the team? And everyone said, yeah, we'll give it a go. And during the same sprint, we decided to start mob programming the very next day and see where it took us. And we haven't gone back since. And we're now mob programming every day, all day, and everyone is really enjoying it. So yeah, it's how we started.
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like you built some momentum. I guess everybody to choose to continue to mob, you must have experienced some positive impacts. Can you describe any of those?
Yeah, let me think. I think the knowledge sharing was a big part of the contribution that we had. Everyone was really respectful to each other already from the get-go, so that really helped. And the domain knowledge. There was I was a new team member, and another guy was a new team member. So the domain knowledge spread really fast, and that was something the others really enjoyed, and that was one of the pain points as well. Every time there was a question when we were still doing sprints, like in a Scrum setting, the knowledge was not there, and we had to wait because someone was away or in another meeting, and we couldn't continue work. So it was really slowing us down. And that was one of the biggest, I think, influences when why everyone really enjoyed it. The domain knowledge spread really fast, and also the general knowledge about how to write good software. Yeah, are going to give each other tips on how to use the IDE. Why aren't you using this shortcut? It was really liberating for, and I love to teach. So yeah, every time someone didn't understand something, I always took my time to explain stuff, and I'm very calm when I do it, and I think people enjoy it. So that yeah, I think there was so much positivity when mobbing. I think it just rubs off, and everyone we want more of this.
Were there any big challenges?
Well, we had when we started mobbing, we were really dictating a lot. Do this, do this, do this. Write this character there. It's really detailed dictating how to write the code, and that's really tiring. And that was our biggest thing in mobbing that kind of struck us as this is not how it is supposed to go. And once we really call it out on, okay, guys, what are we doing? We're all experienced software engineers. We don't need to really dictate what we're going to type, right? Let's try to explain a little bit more what the idea is, and give the typist a little bit more freedom in how to implement the code. And if you see something happening that you would rather like to see different, then call it out. But
Nice.
Let's stop with the dictating. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's needed, but I think there in my experience, and for some reason, even though I've been doing it for about 6 years now, full-time mob programming, I still will find myself more like clenched and more like every once in a while, like with the low-level navigation. And I realized that when I find myself low-level navigating a lot, there's this the side effect is I often feel more stressed, because it's like I'm waiting for each keystroke to be just as I'm thinking, or things like that. Where when you back off and you're like, what are y'all thinking? And then we kind of decide a direction, you give just enough guidance. It's I feel like it's something I've heard Chris say many times before, but like lean is cathartic. Like when you find that balance, it's like it's more enjoyable, but also more effective at the same time. And so,
Austin, you may need to start blindfolding yourself when you're navigating. That way you can...
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. When I find myself like watching every keystroke and being like, no, they picked the wrong one, there's a problem.
What drives me crazy a little bit is the shortcuts. So if it's like if I know a shortcut for something, I just like immediately want to say it, and often I just have to write it down and then give the feedback later. But yeah, certainly I think most mobs go through this. It's kind of like a maturity thing, right? So if you had a maturity model of mobbing, I think you'd see something like low level navigation of experienced developers as like one of the first steps, and then gradually getting better and better. But often I recommend like just trying varying levels of abstraction. I try and generally start at the highest level of abstraction. So give a really, really like high level, and then only if somebody's struggling to move forward do I move it down, and that tends to work really well. And I think often people get into this mode where they want to show off their expertise, or they want to or they think that the person driving or typing doesn't know a concept. And I think often if you use the higher levels of abstraction, you'll find that they even have a different or better way of approaching the problem as well. And so it's almost like a provide as little detail as possible to get the test passing, that sort of thing.
I think it really helps if you also know the experience level of the one that's typing. The level of extraction really needs to differ based on who's typing. Another thing that that I wanted to mention is that the typist in the beginning really would like to take control of what's going to happen. And as a typist, I myself have a lot of trouble also not trying to generate ideas when, oh, guys, should we work on this now? It's really hard for me to be quiet and let the others come up with ideas. And sometimes I need to remind the others, and others needs to remind the mob as well. And okay, guys, what do you want me to do? Instead of just working something out solo and letting the rest watch.
You don't want the typist and the watchers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Bad
Yeah.
pattern.
Yeah. But it sometimes still happens even now, and it's we recently started with mini retros every day at the end of the day. So what went well and what went bad, and that really helps as well. Just to call out things. If it's, I didn't really like this, and I was kind of dozing off over here, and stuff like that. Really, it's we've got a really open team. No one is afraid to say anything how things are going. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's great. I'm reminded of the mob programming RPG, the driver role to earn experience points. One of the options for earning experience is to type something you disagree with, right? So it's listening to the navigator. So it's kind of a fun variation on that.
We haven't played the mob RPG yet, but I've dropped it a few times. So hey, there's a game that we could try, and I think some are open, but others are skeptical. For now, are you sure?
But it's a good time, and I think some of the benefit is, so I've played the RPG with people, and one thing that I noticed is that there will be a lot of aha, like I didn't know that was a desired behavior in this role. And so but yeah, some of what you're describing right now certainly sounds like it gets addressed in that way, but that's just one of numerous ways to approach those things. But obviously retrospectives at the end of the day is a great way to iterate towards better.
I had a follow-up question on you said, like, in your mini retros the team can say, quote unquote, say anything, and that's something I've been thinking more about lately. Like, how do teams get there, and how do some teams not get there? Like, I've been on teams that haven't been there, and I've been on a lot of teams that have gotten there. And I'm just curious on your experience. How do you think your team got to that place where they can just say anything, speak their mind, bring their full self, kind of thing?
I don't know. I myself, I'm really sensitive. So if there's tension in the team, I get affected by it a lot, and I'm also very outspoken. So I'm going to address that elephant in the room if it's there. And I think all the other team members are really open as well. So I think it's I don't know if that's the cause, but I think it really helps to have just we all respect each other, and I don't know if we did something to trigger that that setting that allows us to be so open.
I think so would you describe that as like having empathy for people, like empathizing with points of view, and then also be willing to facilitate feedback, that sort of thing? So like, so you're on a team and you can detect, I guess, when one person is upset with another, even if you're not involved, and bridging that gap. I think there's a lot of truth in that, because I think that that's certainly a role that I've played on mobs in the past. And so I think it's an interesting thing, but I think it's really valuable for people to develop empathy, right? Develop their empathy, in understanding where other people are coming from, and other things along those lines. And so I think some people just naturally came into it through their upbringing, and then there are others that really struggle. And that's where a lot of miscommunication happens. Is there anything in particular that you've used to develop your empathy or empathic behavior, or is it something where you just like grew up that way, sort of thing?
I believe I grew up that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
fair.
that's also the easiest answer.
Yeah.
But no, I always, I really get, my blood starts boiling if I see something that feels unjust, and I don't always speak out immediately. I just kind of wait it out, and but at some point I just can't retain myself to just, I need to speak up. But it has never gotten that bad in our situation. But we had in this team, we had at most, I think, 2 days of quite tense conversations and kind of snappy comments to each other from, do it like this, do it like that. And then it says, okay, what's going on, guys? This is not how we want to communicate. I think there's something that needs to be addressed there, but I don't know what it is. And there was some tension between two colleagues that then spoke up, and we settled it. And after that, the rest of the day we were laughing again, and things got fun again. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think the 5 dysfunctions of a team book put it as mining for conflict. And I think the thing I add on to it from recent experiences is mine for conflict when it's small, because when it's interpersonal stuff and it grows and grows and grows, it becomes this giant monster that even like the best hostage negotiator or therapist, they would struggle to grapple with the team. Where I feel like when you mine for conflict, when you first start noticing it, it's almost like, I don't want to say anybody can do it, but it's almost like when it's small, people find ways to figure out ways to solve it 99% of the time. Even, I feel like maybe that's why the Radical Candor book just says, just say it. You're going to say it imperfectly. You're probably going to do it poorly. But if you just say it when it's early, usually a team does a good job figuring it out, 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that came naturally to you because you are so sensitive to it. You feel it when it's like the very kernel or seed of it, it's just about the brewing, and so.
I think it does. And also I really want this mobbing to work in our team, and because I really get energy of mob programming. I really thrive on it. I go happy to work, I leave happy, and I have fun during the day. So that's and during those moments I was having less fun, and I wanted to get the same amount of fun as before again. Yeah.
I feel 100% the same way. So I'm right with you, man. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So when you're so your team adopted it, and you've kind of progressed through different stages and getting more comfortable with each other. Were there, I don't know what management looks like in your organization, but were there any like questions for management or anything else like from the outside in that was either preventing or supporting all of this?
Well, there was never, we didn't really ask for approval. It's the organization lets the team be very open in how they approach things. So there was no real mandate that you had to follow. Most of the teams are using Scrum, and they have a lot of Scrum Masters. We had a Scrum Master as well, and we said, we want to abandon Scrum and go mobbing. And I said, okay, let's try Scrum Ban then. He says, yeah, that's fine. That gives us ample of opportunity to pick up what we want to pick up. And product owner can change priority as much as you want. We're not gonna predict anymore how much work we're gonna deliver in the next set of days. We're just gonna pick up a task, and then when it's done, we'll ask what's the next best thing you want us to work on, and that really helps as well. But they are struggling with the estimations because upper management still wants estimations. So what we do now is we just create really small tasks in Jira, and at the end of the day, we'll say, okay, we completed another bunch of tasks, and just report the amount of tasks we completed, and we'll make them as big as or large as we want, and they'll settle for that.
Nice.
The product owner, when I opted to start mobbing, was a little bit skeptical because the way we work is you guys are already having trouble keeping everyone busy with the task in the current sprint. So how are you guys going to stay busy if you are working on one task with the whole team? That's kind of the beauty of mobbing. So everyone is busy with one task, and when that task is done, you start with the next one.
Was their viewpoint shifted at all? Did you get any comments back from that product owner as you progressed?
When I started in this team, I noticed there was a lot of there was no trust in the ability of this team. They thought this is not a really productive team, but we are working on a new standard, and the new standard is growing while we work on it, and that's why they're not delivering. They're only adding or increasing the work they need to do. So the trust in our team was a little bit low, and when I asked now, if I am asking the business now, I think the trust is gaining in us again, and I personally thank mob programming for that. I really think that the trust, we're delivering more, the quality is going up, so releases are more frequent, and the product is more stable. And I think everyone else around us and the teams that need to use our API is also noticing that, and I think that's I think trust is growing in our team.
Yeah, I think when we had started mobbing back in kind of my first experience, it was very similar. The organization had very little trust in the ability of the team to deliver, and just that shift, and then the subsequent deliveries and consistency was very reinforcing to the company's image, to the team's abilities, and it just continued to grow so much that it kind of outpaced every other team.
Cool.
And so
Right on. Good stuff. Yeah, definitely seen that too. And we got some questions queued up on improving design, Boy Scouting, staying up to date, and that kind of thing. But one thing I wanted to ask to help set the context a little bit more. So you guys started your mobbing journey, and how long has that journey been going on for?
I started with this company in January, and in April we started mobbing.
Nice.
So that's a small half year now, a little bit over. Yeah.
Sweet.
And this episode's recorded in December.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it may not get out till the new year, but yes, it's recorded in December. And cool. So you mentioned design here. There's kind of a delta in design as you've gone on your mobbing quest here. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, your experiences there?
Yeah. This company of this team that I'm working on is maintaining I think at the current time 9 microservices, and the design was there, but we really started to favor ports and adapters, and not everyone was aware of the ports and adapters design, and we're gradually changing all the microservices to this design. And every time we hit one of the microservices, we try to we're in this area now. How can we change the design to be more ports and adapters? Change the dependencies inwards and stuff like that. And there was a great to teach the team how to implement ports and adapters, and I never used it in a production code as either. So it was a great learning experience for the whole team. So how can we do this? And it was a really fun experience. And now every time we see something that's out of place, we start is this something we want to change now, or do we want to stay more en route of the solving the problem? And we gradually try to improve the design this way. And it's really beneficial to do this in a mob because you can always decide not to do parts of it right now, but maybe later.
Nice. Yeah, and I think that goes right in with your the other topic of scouting. And if you're changing it already and you've got a mob where you have the knowledge and the safety and in my experience is the tests, it's a great time to add some elements like that, because it just neat code feels nice, right? It's less confused, less stressful, and where here's the core of our logic, and then here's the ports and adapters and things like that. And it's a wonderful place to live. So that's awesome. Maybe a follow-up question would be, how do you? Our mob struggles with it too, and sometimes someone has a passionate answer and we just go with it, and sometimes it's kind of like crickets for a while, where we're kind of everyone's on the fence. How do you decide when it's time to scout and when it's not time to scout? Something like that.
Well, usually we just ask it in the mob. Okay, I've got this change. It's gonna be kind of big if we're gonna refactor this. Is this something we would like to do right now, or can it wait? Or a follow-up question usually is, can we make it smaller? Can we do just a little bit of it first instead of all the things? But sometimes we had done a refactor and it didn't work out, and we spent all day working on it. But the next day when we come back from this is going to be endless, guys, just let's start over. And we would roll it back this is a great example as well. We had two ideas how to tackle this rewrite, how to solve the problem, and I opted an idea that took all day to implement, and it was growing huge. So at the end of the day, we said, okay, this is not going to work. Let's roll it back. And the next day we started with the other idea, and we were done in half a day with the task, and that was really awesome. And some people might say, "Oh, that's kind of a waste of 5 people working on one problem," but we learned so much during that day. And that knowledge went straight into the next idea, in the other idea, and the lessons learned from that day are still very valuable to making the new solution work and get it done that quick.
I think that also kind of reminds me of just this, like in a mob, it's so much easier to avoid the sunk cost fallacy. Like when you should throw something away, but you don't want to. I think when you're alone, I think it's sometimes harder to do that because you're just like so invested, or maybe you can no longer think of a different way to do it. And so I think one of the big benefits of mobbing in general is just the ability, even for somebody skeptical, to go along with the rest of the mob for some time, and then with no hard feelings, throw away a portion of the code that was just written and in favor of a better direction. And that certainly takes a lot of, I guess, willpower, and that's kind of what I like to think about, is that when you're in a mob, it's a collective willpower. it's much easier to do the right thing rather than, you know, going and eating the ice cream out of the refrigerator or something, like sort of thing.
And also, you immediately get validated by the rest of the team if it's really worth it to continue on this path, or just abandon it and try something else. Because the guys are right there to say, this is indeed not making the code better, so let's just try something else.
And if somebody was by themselves and continue with that solution, it may actually have costed more than 5 people's worth of time in the long run. And so generally speaking, it's probably less expensive to maintain that piece of code now. And so, you know, I think the flip side of it is that maybe it's not a waste of 5 people of a day. Maybe it's the savings of a whole team over the course of years, you know, 30 minutes to 45 minutes at a time whenever they come back and look at that code. And it's not an intuitive perspective shift for people to make.
Yeah, and I think too that I don't know, the feeling I get, because software engineering is such a young industry compared to other disciplines, that sometimes when you open up some code either by yourself or with others, and I feel like there's a million different ways to paint yourself into a corner. It's like the code will let you do it, right? And maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I think, you know, while it's hard to say like morally wrong or something like that, just there's a million less effective ways to go, and there's probably a million effective ways to go, but it's just so open-ended that while with a mob you do lose whatever time it took for the whole mob to learn that lesson. Maybe they paint themselves in a corner for an hour, maybe it's a day, but then you walk away with 5 people or whoever is in the mob learning that lesson, as opposed to those 5 people all painting themselves in different corners, because you're going to do it because the industry is so young that, like you said, Chris, the sunk cost fallacy, but also now everybody has learned it, and now we can do better next time. And so, I guess a follow-up is staying up to date. What did you have in mind here?
And there was something I took away from the previous company that I worked on. They were really into staying up to date with your dependencies and software that you use, just to stay ahead of any issues that might arise in the future. You want to enable the team to get up to date consistently and as quickly as possible. So what I inherited from my previous company is the knowledge to create a useful Maven script that really just updates all the dependencies, brute forces it, and then you can allow to roll it out for all the services we have. And if a build fails, then we're gonna investigate a little bit why. And if it's a big issue, then we might decide, okay, we're gonna park this for now, roll back that version, and address it at a later time. So right now we're on Spring 3.1, and 3.2 is giving some issues. So that's something we're going to postpone, because we've got a dependency there that needs to get updated as well, but doesn't have an update yet. But that's a process we do every 2 weeks. We just update all the versions we have, and we exclude the ones that we know that are giving troubles. But we're really active on staying up to date with the latest versions of every dependency we use. And that's really cool.
I really like that idea. And then you know, some people have trouble even justifying the investment of like keeping the dependencies up to date. And so lately I found the conversation to be a little bit easier, because a lot of frameworks are doing LTS windows, or like long-term support windows. And then you can make it an argument of like security, or, you know, staying up to date within security, as long as you're in the LTS window. Some frameworks are just like, we don't support any previous versions. Some do have like security updates for older versions and things like that. But I think generally speaking, you know, having a conversation around what LTS windows there are. And then also, those are all really good. But I totally agree. I think that things that fall out of date are so much harder to bring up to speed once you've, really gotten old.
Yeah.
If you guys don't mind a bit of a story time, this one really resonates with me. I'm glad you brought this up, Robin. I'd be curious your thoughts on it. But at the current mob I'm on, we support 20 to 30 different products, internal, external, and repos. And we had one defining experience for our whole mob that made us do a paradigm shift radical in the other direction. And that was, we were asked something the last time one of those products had been built was like 3 years ago. And it was in a kind of esoteric technology, not something that's like used by millions and millions of people. And it literally had been so long since it's been built that it was impossible to rebuild. Like it just, on today's computers, on old computers we could find, on nothing, we couldn't get this thing to build. We put so much time into it. And so we eventually had to rebuild it. But what the radical shift we made from that point on, which is kind of, in many ways, the essence of continuous delivery. But for all our 20 to 30 products, every time we touched one of them, we put them on an automated schedule to daily get the latest, build, run tests, and deploy.
Oh, cool.
Because it does lead to, every morning we call it like, oh, what's the explosion Kanban or whatever, like, what blew up today and didn't make it through the pipeline. But it's always easy to solve when it happened in the last 12 to 24 hours, right? Like, oh, we go look at it and so updated their, version from 3 to 4. And, we look online and then it's like they've destroyed everyone with whatever breaking change they made, right? And so it's usually really easy to solve. But when it was huge, like over the scope of years, it was just unwieldy. So,
that's a losing battle.
Yeah. So I definitely resonate with what you're saying there. How did the team take this new approach?
I think one of the other team members really favored this approach as well, and I already had a good couple of ideas as well for now how to contribute to this solution. And he also made the compatibility checks. So we had a couple of libraries, and my idea was, okay, let's just update it and see if that stuff builds. But he also introduced the compatibility checks. So the applications using those new libraries, those new builds, get built as well with the new libraries to see if they are compatible. That really helps to have that stuff automated for you, and you only need to check the build pipelines for, okay, what's broken, just like Austin said, they really see the benefit as well of staying up to date. The company itself also is really investing in this. They have a separate team that kind of spreads the idea. Oh, guys, you need to stay up to date, run the OWASP checks and stuff like that. The security is how do you say it? It's regarded highly in this company, so that's really awesome as well. So they really give you the resources and the time to spend time on this as well. So didn't really take long to convince the team to adapt this solution as well.
Right on. Cool. Well, another follow-up area was you've done your mobbing journey. You've had noted some of the challenges and benefits. What were kind of the side effects of the side effects? So things, impacts farther reaching than just the immediate team. What have your experiences been there?
All right. The other teams were really interested in. So is that really going to work the way they're working? So the company itself asked us, okay, what are you guys doing, and do you want to? The other teams are kind of scratching their head. What's going on over there? Do you want to give a talk? Do you want to introduce what you guys are doing? And I'm a midlancer, so I'm external to this company, and my own boss, the company that I work at, is Rockstars IT, that also wanted to give me a talk about this subject. So okay, let's just because I was so passionate about when I spoke to it with my managers from that company. They said, okay, is this something you want to share with more people? I said, hell yeah. And I gave a talk there as well. And we've got in the Java world, you have like these jugs that are all around the world, where people who are in the business industry give talks about topics. We had a few local of those as well, and the company that I currently work with is Cadaster. They are hosting one of those as well. Those events. It's a meetup, and they were looking for speakers. And when they asked for, I said, does anyone have a topic? My teammate started laughing and pointing at me. Says, okay, I'll give a talk about mob programming. But it's really fun to give talks like that because there people that are showing up are really curious about this subject. Every time I ask, I have given free talks now. Every time I have asked the group that's there, who knows mob programming, who has slightly heard of it, maybe knows it only in theory, or is actually mob programming, the responses are really, I've never heard about it. That's the majority of the group. I've had one time there was one person that was mobbing every day as well, and I've had a really fun conversation with him about his experience as well. But yeah, it's really fun to see that you're doing something that's kind of out of the ordinary, and if you speak with people about it, they says, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, that might actually work, but not at my company." This is, I bet it will. Just give it a try. I'm trying to convince people to start mobbing as well. I know that at my previous company, I had one colleague that's mobbing one time a day with his team now. Every time they are at the office, they usually work remotely. They're attempting to mob as well, and they're facing the same struggles as we had in the beginning. Some people are getting fatigued, and but it's really fun to see that I'm influencing people around me to start mobbing as well. Some junior developer also came to me. We had this problem in my team, and multiple people tried to solve it solo, never worked. And I opted after your talk to start address it with the complete team, not really calling it mobbing, but let's all get together and try to tackle this problem. And they solved it in half a day. Feedback like that is really making me happy. So just spreading the goodness of mobbing. It was really fun and kind of unexpected when I started my own journey with my team.
Nice. Yeah, it reminds me. It is kind of a fun thing community to be a part of, because sometimes it feels like, you get in a spaceship, you go to another planet, and you arrive, and they're like, what is a human? And you're like the first person to explain to them this radical new concept, and so it's daunting, but also quite fun to take on that, because I think it's just the contexts are so wildly different. It's but there's a lot of fun in that as well, having it from that perspective. We are starting to get to the end of our time box. Is there anything you'd like to share or plug before we close?
No, not really. Just everyone should start mobbing. I think it's awesome, and it really helps creating productivity. So give it a go if you have never tried it, and it really helps with anything, really.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Robin, so much for being on the show. It's quite wonderful.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, quite wonderful. For you to be sharing your story with us. We really appreciate that. It's great to have all these so to speak, case studies of people's experiences all around the world trying it out. And so to our audience, if you enjoyed Robin's story and his team's story, please share this episode with others to spread the good word. And also, if any of the topics were inspiring on improving design, scouting, staying up to date with the latest packages, and kind of the side effects of mobbing, and what that's been like in your organization as well, please like and subscribe, share your experiences in the comments on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and more. And until next time, mob on and have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.